Welcome to Sound of English. Today, I want you to sit back, relax, and listen carefully. Because the story you are about to hear is not just entertainment. It's also a chance to train your ears for real English listening. By following this story with captions, you will slowly get used to the rhythm, tone, and flow of British English. And for this journey, we are stepping into the world of Peaky Blinders. The year is 1919. The war has ended, but the scars of battle remain everywhere. In the city of Birmingham, England, factories are loud, streets are filled with smoke, and people are trying to rebuild their lives after years of bloodshed. But beneath the surface, the city is restless. The government is weak, the police are corrupt, and gangs rule the streets. And in the middle of all this chaos, one gang begins to rise. They are feared, they are respected, and they are different from the rest. People call them the Peaky Blinders. They earn their name from the razor blades sewn into their flat caps. One swing of the hat could blind a man. But the gang is not just about violence. They are organized, clever, and ambitious. And at the head of it all is one man. Thomas Shelby. Tommy Shelby, as everyone calls him, has just returned from the Great War. His mind carries the shadows of the trenches, the explosions, the screams of men. But his eyes are sharp, cold, and always watching. He walks through the streets of Birmingham like a man with a plan. And indeed, he has one. The Shelby family is large, noisy, and full of characters. There's Arthur Shelby, the eldest brother, hot-headed and unpredictable, but loyal to his family. There's Polly Gray, their aunt, the woman who kept the family alive while the men fought in the war. She is tough, smart, and has the respect of everyone in the neighborhood. Together, they are building more than just a gang. They are building an empire. The first whispers of their power begin with horse racing. In Birmingham, betting on horses is a way of life. The Peaky Blinders use it to control money, influence, and respect. Tommy has a plan to fix races, to make the gang rich, and to outsmart both rivals and the law. But in a city full of gangs, nothing comes easy. One night, Tommy decides to try something bold. He secretly takes a shipment of guns from the local factory. Guns that belong to the government. Guns that could start a war if anyone found out. The robbery is quiet, but the consequences are not. Because now, the Peaky Blinders are not just a local gang. They are a threat to the state. Meanwhile, the people of Birmingham whisper about them in fear and admiration. In smoky bars and crowded markets, men talk about the razor blades in their hats. Women warn their children not to cross them. And police officers struggle between bribery and duty. The Peaky Blinders are rising, and no one can stop them. His eyes are cold, his orders are strict, and he makes it clear, he will not rest until the stolen guns are found. The people of Birmingham quickly learn that Campbell is not a man to be taken lightly. Raids begin. Pubs are searched. Doors are kicked down. Fear spreads like smoke through the streets. Inside the garrison, the Shelby family gathers. The pub feels heavy with tension. Arthur drinks heavily, slamming his glass against the table, furious about the police raids. They think they can scare us, he shouts, his voice echoing off the walls. But Tommy stays calm. He lights a cigarette, leans back, and reminds everyone that panic is what their enemies want. He tells his family to trust him. He has a plan. And Tommy's plan is never simple. He thinks 10 steps ahead, like a chess player moving pieces across the board. His mind is already working on how to turn the danger of the guns into a chance for power. In the middle of all this chaos, a woman enters the story. Grace Burgess. She arrives in Birmingham looking for work and finds a job at the garrison, serving drinks behind the bar. She has red hair, bright eyes, and a calm smile. To most, she looks like just another young woman trying to survive in the rough streets. But Grace is not what she seems. She is an undercover agent, secretly working with Inspector Campbell. Her real mission is to get close to the Shelbys, to find out their secrets, and most importantly, to discover where Tommy has hidden the guns. Grace plays her role well. She pours drinks, laughs with the customers, and slowly gains the trust of the family. Arthur likes her immediately, seeing her as a friendly face in the middle of trouble. Polly, however, watches her closely. Polly has instincts sharper than most. She knows that nothing in Birmingham is ever simple. But the one Grace truly needs to reach is Tommy. And Tommy, though cautious, begins to notice her. He sees the way she carries herself, the way her eyes never miss a detail. Slowly, an unspoken connection begins to form. Neither of them says much, but the silence between them speaks louder than words. While Grace plays her dangerous game, Tommy pushes forward with his plans. He wants the Peaky Blinders to grow stronger, richer, more powerful. Horse racing becomes his focus. If he can control the betting, he can control the money. And money means power. One morning, Tommy visits Charlie Strong, a trusted ally who helps with the horses. Charlie is older, tough, and knows the streets as well as Tommy does. Together they prepare a horse for the races. Tommy strokes the animal's neck, his sharp eyes scanning every detail. To most, it looks like just a man and a horse. But for Tommy, this is about much more. Every race is a step towards the future he envisions. But success never comes without enemies. Billy Kimber, the most powerful bookmaker in the region, controls the horse racing business. But power always attracts enemies. Other gangs, the police, and even the government begin to notice. And while Tommy appears calm and calculated, deep down he knows that one wrong move could destroy everything. In the heart of Small Heath, the Shelby family runs the Garrison, their local pub. This is not just a bar. It's their headquarters, their meeting place, their symbol of control. Inside, deals are made, plans are whispered, and enemies are watched. Tommy sits in the corner, cigarette smoke curling in the air, his mind always working. He is not just a gangster. He is a strategist, a soldier, and a leader. Arthur, on the other hand, is restless. He drinks too much, fights too quickly, and trusts too easily. Polly tries to keep the family balanced. She warns Tommy that ambition is dangerous, that enemies are everywhere. But Tommy believes in destiny. He believes the Shelbys are meant for more than just Birmingham. The first real test of their strength comes when the police begin searching for the stolen guns. Inspector Campbell, a tough and relentless officer, is sent from Belfast to clean up Birmingham. He is strict, ruthless, and determined to crush the gangs. To him, the Peaky Blinders are just another group of criminals. But soon he will learn that Tommy Shelby is not like the others. As Campbell tightens his grip on the city, Tommy moves carefully. He plays his cards close, trusting very few. He knows the stolen guns are both a weapon and a curse. They can bring him power, but they can also bring destruction. And so, he hides them, waiting for the right time to use them. But in Birmingham, secrets never stay hidden for long. Rivals are watching, spies are listening, and danger grows with every passing day. Tommy's ambition is to rise above gangs, to sit at the table with businessmen and politicians. But for now, he must fight to survive, fight to lead, and fight to keep his family together. And so the story of Peaky Blinders begins. In the smoke-filled streets of Birmingham, where power is taken, not given. Where loyalty is everything. And where one man's vision could change the fate of his family forever. The streets of Birmingham grow darker as the Peaky Blinders tighten their hold. Everyone can feel the change. The gang is no longer just a rumor. They are everywhere. In the pubs, on the corners, in the factories. People whisper their name with both fear and respect. And at the center of it all, Thomas Shelby is pulling the strings. Tommy knows the stolen guns are dangerous. If the government discovers that he has them, the family could be destroyed. But Tommy does not see only danger. He sees opportunity. To him, the guns are a tool, a weapon to bargain with, a way to gain power beyond the streets of Small Heath. Meanwhile, Inspector Campbell begins his mission. He arrives in Birmingham with soldiers, determined to clean up the city. To him, the Peaky Blinders are criminals who must be crushed. His men are violent, his reputation feared. When he hears that the Peaky Blinders are fixing races and moving into his territory, he takes it as a direct challenge. For Kimber, there is no room for rivals. Tommy knows this will not be easy. Going against Kimber means risking war. But Tommy is not afraid. He believes the Peaky Blinders can outsmart anyone, even the man who controls the racetracks. Back in Small Heath, tension rises. The community feels the pressure of both the police and rival gangs. Families whisper about the raids. Children hear their parents warning them not to cross the Shelbys. The city feels like it is on edge, waiting for something to happen. And through it all, Tommy remains steady. Every night, he sits in the garrison, cigarette smoke curling around him, eyes cold and calculating. Grace serves drinks, stealing glances at him, while Polly watches everything like a hawk. Arthur drinks, laughs too loud, and sometimes fights, while younger brothers John and Finn try to prove themselves. The Shelby family is strong, but they are also fragile. One wrong move could break them apart. Inspector Campbell grows impatient. His raids continue, but the guns remain hidden. He senses that the key to everything lies with Tommy Shelby. But Campbell is not just fighting a gang. He is fighting a man who thinks like a soldier, plans like a general, and takes risks like no one else. The game has begun. A silent war is spreading through the streets of Birmingham. On one side, the law, armed with power and fear. On the other, the Peaky Blinders, armed with ambition and razor blades in their caps. And in the middle of it all, two secrets are forming. Tommy hides the guns that could change everything. And Grace hides the truth about who she really is. The city waits. The tension rises. And soon, the first sparks of fire will ignite into a storm that no one can control. The air in Birmingham feels heavier. Everyone knows that something is coming. The Peaky Blinders are rising fast, and their name carries more weight every single day. But with every step forward, enemies gather in the shadows. Tommy sits in the garrison, a cigarette between his fingers, his thoughts racing. The stolen guns are hidden well, but he knows it is only a matter of time before Inspector Campbell gets closer. Tommy is calm on the outside, but inside, his mind is sharp, calculating every move like a chess master planning 10 moves ahead. Arthur storms into the bar, restless as always. His temper burns hot, and the police raids only fuel his anger. "We can't just sit here while Campbell kicks down doors," he growls. Polly watches him with steady eyes, telling him to control himself. She knows Arthur's rage could destroy everything Tommy is trying to build. Tommy doesn't raise his voice. He never does. He simply tells Arthur to trust him. "We don't react," he says quietly. "We plan." And when Tommy speaks like that, everyone listens. Even Arthur. But outside, trouble is moving closer. Billy Kimber, the powerful bookmaker who rules the racetracks, has finally noticed the Peaky Blinders. Kimber is no ordinary rival. He has money, men, and influence. His gang is violent, unpredictable, and loyal only to him. To Kimber, the racetracks are his kingdom, and anyone who dares to challenge him will pay the price. Tommy knows Kimber is dangerous, but he also knows Kimber is greedy. And greedy men can be outsmarted. For Tommy, this is not just about fighting. It's about business. It's about making the Peaky Blinders more than just a street gang. At the same time, Grace continues her secret work. Every night at the garrison, she listens, she observes, she waits. She serves drinks with a smile, but behind her calm eyes is a sharp focus. Every word she hears could be the clue Campbell is waiting for. Yet, as the days pass, Grace begins to feel torn. The more time she spends around the Shelbys, the more she sees them not just as criminals, but as a family. A broken, dangerous, complicated family, but still a family. And Tommy, with his quiet intensity, begins to draw her in. One evening, Tommy and Grace share a moment. It's nothing dramatic, just a conversation, a look, a silence that lingers. But in that silence, something dangerous begins to form. Grace knows she should stay away, that getting close to Tommy could ruin everything. But she can't ignore the pull. And Tommy, though he never shows his feelings easily, can't ignore it either. Meanwhile, Campbell grows impatient. He pressures Grace for results, demanding to know what the Shelbys are hiding. He wants the guns, and he wants them now. Grace assures him that she's working on it, but Campbell's suspicion grows. He is a man who trusts no one, and soon, Grace will have to choose which side she truly belongs to. As the tension builds, Tommy makes his move against Billy Kimber. He doesn't attack with guns or blades. Instead, he plays a smarter game. He arranges a meeting. The Peaky Blinders walk into Kimber's world, not as desperate men, but as equals demanding respect. It's a bold move, and everyone knows it could end in blood. The meeting is tense. Kimber sits surrounded by his men, laughing loudly, mocking the Shelbys. He sees them as small-time thugs, not worthy of his attention. But Tommy doesn't flinch. He speaks calmly, offering a deal. The Shelbys will run protection on the racetracks. In return, they'll take a cut of the profits. Kimber laughs at first, but Tommy's confidence is unshakable. He makes it clear that the Peaky Blinders are not just another gang, they are the future. Slowly, Kimber begins to see it. Tommy Shelby is not like other men. He is dangerous, yes, but also clever, disciplined, and fearless. Kimber doesn't like him, but he respects him. And in Birmingham, respect is everything. Back in Small Heath, the family feels the shift. For the first time, the Peaky Blinders are stepping beyond their streets, reaching for something bigger. Arthur is thrilled, though his temper remains a problem. Polly, however, is cautious. She warns Tommy that ambition can be deadly. But Tommy only smiles faintly, as if he knows something no one else does. Yet, even as the family rises, danger continues to grow. Rival gangs plot in secret. Campbell tightens his grip on the city. And Grace stands at the center of it all, caught between duty and desire, between the man she serves and the man she is beginning to care for. Night falls on Birmingham. The streets are quiet, but the silence feels heavy, like the city itself is holding its breath. In the garrison, Tommy drinks in silence, his mind already on the next move. The fire has been lit. Alliances are forming. Enemies are circling. And soon, the storm will break. The story of the Peaky Blinders is not just about violence or money. It is about power. About loyalty. About love and betrayal. And as the pieces move across the board, Tommy Shelby stands at the center, ready to risk everything for the empire he dreams of. The deal with Billy Kimber changes everything. For the first time, the Peaky Blinders step into a larger world, a world of money, power, and influence. Tommy has managed to turn a dangerous enemy into a business partner. It's a victory, but in Birmingham, victories never come without a cost. Arthur celebrates loudly, drinking more than he should, his laughter echoing through the garrison. He brags about the Shelbys now being untouchable, about Kimber needing them instead of the other way around. Polly, as always, remains cautious. She reminds Arthur that Kimber is not a friend, he is a man who will turn the tables the second it benefits him. But Arthur doesn't want to hear warnings. He wants to believe they are finally safe. Tommy, though, never celebrates too much. He knows every deal is temporary, every alliance fragile. While his brothers drink and cheer, he sits quietly, cigarette smoke curling upward, already planning the next move. He knows Campbell is still out there, watching, searching, and he knows Grace is not what she seems. He may not know her exact secret yet, but something in her eyes tells him there is more to her story. Grace, meanwhile, continues to walk a dangerous line. With Campbell pressing her harder, she feels the pressure tightening around her. He demands information, asking about the guns, about Tommy, about every whisper she hears inside the garrison. Grace gives him enough to keep him satisfied, but she also holds things back. She tells herself it's strategy, but deep down she knows the truth. Her loyalty is beginning to shift. The more she sees of Tommy, the more she begins to care, and the more she begins to doubt Campbell's mission. One night, Tommy takes Grace to see the horse he's been preparing for the races. Away from the noise of Birmingham, standing in the quiet of the stables, their guard drops just a little. Tommy speaks softly about horses, about how they can sense fear and strength, about how every detail matters when it comes to winning. Grace listens, her eyes fixed on him, realizing that behind his cold exterior, there is a man who feels deeply, even if he rarely shows it. For Tommy, this is not just business, it's survival. And Grace begins to see him not as a criminal, but as a man fighting to carve out a future in a world built against him. Back in the city, Campbell grows restless. His men raid harder, searching every corner of Small Heath. Doors are kicked down, people are dragged into the streets, families are torn apart. To the people of Birmingham, the Peaky Blinders are dangerous, yes, but Campbell feels worse. He is an outsider, a force that does not belong, trying to control a city that rejects him. The people begin to whisper that the Shelbys, for all their crimes, are still their own. And in those whispers, Tommy's power only grows stronger. But with power comes blood. A rival gang, angered by the Shelbys' rising influence, strikes back. Violence erupts in the streets, ambushes in the alleys, blades flashing, fists flying. One night, Arthur is cornered by men loyal to Kimber's rivals. They beat him badly, leaving him half-conscious, a message to the Shelbys that success will not come without a fight. When Tommy sees Arthur lying bruised and broken, his jaw tightens. He does not rage, he does not shout. He simply looks at his brother and makes a silent promise: this will not be forgotten. The next night, the Peaky Blinders move swiftly, striking back with precision. Their caps, their blades, their brutal efficiency remind everyone why they are feared. Blood spills, and the streets learn once again that crossing the Shelbys comes with a price. Polly worries. She sees Tommy becoming colder, harder with every step. She warns him that ambition is turning him into something even she doesn't recognize. "You're building an empire," she says, "but at what cost to your soul?" Tommy doesn't answer. He simply lights another cigarette, his eyes lost in thought. Meanwhile, Grace finds herself caught deeper in her conflict. Each time she reports to Campbell, she feels the weight of betrayal pressing heavier on her chest. Each time she stands beside Tommy, she feels the pull of loyalty and something even more dangerous: affection. She tells herself it's just part of the job, but in her heart, she knows it's more. The season reaches a turning point when Tommy decides to send a message to Kimber directly. He doesn't wait for another attack. Instead, he goes to Kimber's men, looks them in the eye. Makes it clear, the Peaky Blinders are not to be touched. His confidence, his fearlessness, and his ability to stay calm in the face of violence begin to shift the balance. Even Kimber, with all his power, begins to see that Tommy Shelby is not just another gangster. He is something far more dangerous. As Birmingham trembles under the weight of war between gangs, lawmen, and families, one truth becomes clear: this city is no longer controlled by tradition or by outsiders. It is becoming the city of the Peaky Blinders. But in the shadows, secrets remain. The stolen guns are still hidden, and Campbell will not stop until he finds them. Grace still lives a double life, torn between two masters. And Tommy, though stronger than ever, carries a storm inside him, one that will soon break, and when it does, Birmingham will never be the same again. The streets of Birmingham carry a new rhythm. People whisper the name Shelby with a mixture of fear and respect. The Peaky Blinders are no longer just local tough men running bets and fighting rivals, they are becoming something larger. But with every step forward, the shadows grow darker. Tommy sits in his betting shop, papers scattered across the desk. His cigarette burns low, untouched, while his eyes scan numbers and names. To him, business is war, and every figure is a weapon. Arthur paces the room, restless, his bruises from the ambush still fresh. He wants revenge, he wants blood, but Tommy tells him to wait. "We don't fight for pride, Arthur," he says. "We fight for position." Arthur doesn't always understand, but he trusts his brother enough to follow. Polly watches both men, her sharp eyes never missing a detail. She knows Tommy's brilliance, but she also knows his ambition is a fire that could consume them all. She warns him again, quietly, that pushing too far, too fast will bring ruin. Tommy doesn't argue. He simply nods, as though he hears her, though his mind is already 3 steps ahead. At the garrison, Grace continues to play her dangerous game. To everyone around her, she is the charming barmaid, smiling as she serves drinks, laughing at Arthur's stories, listening closely to the whispers of men who don't realize how much they reveal. But beneath the smile, she feels the weight of her secret pressing heavier each day. Campbell demands results, demanding to know where the guns are hidden. But Grace hesitates. She tells herself she is gathering information, but deep down, she knows the truth, her heart is beginning to betray her duty. One night, Tommy and Grace find themselves alone again, the pub quiet, the city outside silent. Their conversations linger longer now. Grace asks about the war, about France, about the things Tommy never speaks of. For a moment, his mask slips. He tells her fragments, enough to reveal the pain, the nightmares, the ghosts he carries. She sees the scar behind his eyes. The wound that never healed. In that silence, Grace feels her walls breaking. She should stay distant, but she doesn't. And Tommy, who rarely allows anyone close, lets her in just a little. Meanwhile, Campbell tightens his grip on Birmingham. His men raid harder, beating families, turning the city into a prison. To the people, he is no savior, he is a tyrant. Whispers spread that Campbell fears Tommy Shelby more than he admits. And Campbell, sensing Grace's hesitation, grows suspicious. He begins to wonder if his own agent is slipping through his fingers. The rivalry with Kimber also deepens. Kimber, though allied with Tommy, is volatile, unpredictable. He lashes out at enemies, beats his own men, and drinks until rage consumes him. Tommy knows that Kimber's instability is dangerous, but also exploitable. A man who cannot control himself, Tommy says, can be controlled by someone else. Slowly, quietly, he begins to tighten the strings, positioning himself to take Kimber's crown without ever drawing a blade. But Birmingham is not quiet for long. Another clash erupts between gangs, the streets once again stained with blood. Arthur leads the charge this time, brutal and reckless, his rage a storm no one can stop. The Peaky Blinders win the fight, but Polly scolds Arthur, warning that his recklessness will bring the coppers down harder. Arthur laughs it off, but behind his bravado, there's something broken, a man searching for purpose, for meaning, for peace he cannot find. After the fight, Tommy stands alone in the dark, the city quiet around him. He lights another cigarette, his mind restless. He knows every battle won only brings the next war closer. And while his brothers think they are winning, Tommy knows the truth, their enemies are circling tighter every day. Grace feels it too. When she reports to Campbell, he presses her harder, his voice sharp, his patience gone. He wants names, places, secrets. He wants the guns, and he wants Tommy destroyed. Grace nods, promises to deliver, but inside, her heart trembles. She can no longer deny it, her loyalty has shifted. She has crossed a line she can never uncross. Back in the garrison, as music plays and laughter fills the air, Grace and Tommy share another moment. A dance, slow and unspoken, their eyes locked, the noise around them fading. For Tommy, it is rare, connection, trust, warmth. For Grace, it is dangerous, because every step closer to him is a step further from the mission she swore to serve. The night ends, but the tension remains. Outside, enemies plot. Campbell sharpens his hunt. Kimber grows unstable. And Tommy, though stronger than ever, feels the weight pressing heavier on his shoulders. The city waits. The storm is building. And everyone knows that when it breaks, Birmingham will never be the same again. The Shelby name spreads across Birmingham like fire. People begin to see them not just as gangsters but as rulers of the streets. Every bet, every whisper, every deal somehow passes through Tommy's hands. But the higher they rise, the more enemies gather in the shadows. Arthur tries to enjoy their success. He drinks, laughs, and throws his weight around, but deep inside he feels uneasy. He tells Tommy late one night, "We're getting too big, Tom. Too many eyes on us. Kimber, Campbell, the whole bloody city." Tommy listens but doesn't answer. His mind is already moving, already calculating the next step. Polly grows restless too. She sees Grace spending more time with Tommy, notices the small looks, the shared silences. Polly doesn't trust easily, and she doesn't trust Grace at all. She warns Tommy that letting feelings mix with business is dangerous. "Women like her don't come to Birmingham without a reason," she says. Tommy brushes it off, but her words linger. Grace, meanwhile, is drowning in her double life. Campbell presses her harder than ever. He wants the guns, he wants Tommy, and his patience is running out. Grace gives him half-truths, holding back just enough to protect Tommy, but each lie pulls her deeper into danger. The more she falls for him, the more impossible her mission becomes. Campbell, sensing her hesitation, begins to manipulate her. He reminds her of her duty, of the cause, of the bigger picture. He tells her that Tommy Shelby is just another criminal, that every smile, every gentle word he gives her is just part of his game. But Grace knows that isn't true. She has seen the man behind the mask, the pain in his silence, the fire in his eyes. And she can't let it go. Meanwhile, Kimber begins to unravel. He lashes out at his men, punishes them brutally, his paranoia growing with every passing day. He fears Tommy's rise, even as he relies on him. Tommy watches carefully, never rushing, knowing that Kimber's weakness will give him the chance he needs. "You don't take a king's crown by force," Tommy says. "You wait until he puts it down himself." But not all threats are business. One night, Ada's secret is revealed. She is pregnant, carrying Freddie Thorne's child. Polly is furious, Arthur shocked, and Tommy cold. Freddie is not just any man, he is a communist, a wanted man, a dangerous connection that could ruin them. Ada refuses to hide or be ashamed. She loves Freddie, and she will not let her family dictate her life. Tommy tries to take control, as he always does. He arranges a meeting with Freddie, warning him to stay away from Ada. But Freddie is not intimidated. He stands his ground, telling Tommy that he will fight for Ada, fight for their child, no matter what. For once, Tommy finds himself facing someone he cannot bend or break. The family fractures under the strain. Polly sides with Ada, reminding Tommy that family comes before business. Arthur wavers, torn between loyalty to Tommy and love for his sister. The tension threatens to tear them apart, and Tommy feels the weight of it pressing down harder than ever. Grace sees all of this, standing quietly at the edge. She sees Tommy torn between ambition and family, between control and chaos. Her feelings deepen, but so does her guilt. She knows that every day she stays, every word she doesn't report to Campbell, is a betrayal of her mission. Yet every time she looks at Tommy, she knows she can't turn back. Campbell grows desperate. He begins to tighten the noose, arresting men connected to the Shelbys, spreading fear through Small Heath. He believes pressure will break Tommy, but he underestimates him. Tommy doesn't break. He adapts. He grows sharper, colder, more dangerous. And in the middle of it all, the city itself begins to feel the change. Birmingham is no longer controlled by outsiders or old powers. It is bending, slowly, to the will of one man, Thomas Shelby. But storms are gathering. Kimber is unstable. Campbell is furious. Ada is defiant. Grace is torn. And Tommy stands at the center of it all, a calm figure with the weight of an empire on his shoulders, knowing that every move now will decide not just his fate, but the future of his entire family. The night grows quiet in Small Heath, but in that silence, danger waits. Every smile hides a secret. Every deal hides a knife. And every step Tommy takes forward pushes him deeper into a game where the stakes are higher than life itself. The storm finally breaks. What had been whispers in the alleys now crashes into the lives of the Shelbys with full force. Freddie Thorne is captured. Campbell's men drag him from the shadows like a prize, parading him through the streets to show Birmingham who holds power. When the news reaches Ada, her cries echo through the house. She is pregnant, alone, and desperate. Polly tries to calm her, wrapping her arms around her, but nothing can soothe the fury inside. Ada blames Tommy. She believes his endless hunger for control brought this on. "You don't care about me," she spits through tears. "All you care about is your empire." Tommy listens in silence, his face unreadable, but inside, the guilt gnaws. He didn't order Freddie's arrest, but he knows Campbell did it to wound him. And it worked. For all his careful planning, Campbell has struck him where he is weakest, his family. Arthur fumes, pacing like a caged animal. He wants to storm the police, break Freddie out, tear down everything in his path. But Tommy stops him. "We don't charge into fire," he says coldly. "We wait. We find another way." To Arthur, it sounds like weakness. To Tommy, it is strategy. Grace watches this unfold, her heart torn in two. She sits with Ada, comforting her, whispering promises that things will be all right, even as guilt burns in her chest. Because she knows this was Campbell's doing, and she knows she is part of his plan. Later that night, Tommy confronts Campbell in his office. The air is thick with smoke and hatred. Tommy demands Freddie's release. Campbell smiles, calm and cruel. The man is a traitor. A communist. A danger to the king and to this country. And now, Mr. Shelby, he is also a danger to you. Tommy doesn't flinch. His voice is low, dangerous. "You think you can take pieces off my board and still play the game? You've mistaken me for a man who can be broken." Campbell leans forward, his eyes burning. "No, Mr. Shelby. I know exactly what kind of man you are. And I will break you. Piece by piece. Until there's nothing left." The standoff ends without blood, but the war between them is now personal. Neither man will bend. And both know it can only end one way. Meanwhile, Grace feels the pressure closing in. Campbell summons her again, demanding details, demanding to know where the guns are, demanding to know Tommy's next move. Grace hesitates, then feeds him just enough information to keep suspicion off her. But Campbell senses her hesitation. His eyes narrow as he studies her face, searching for cracks. When Grace leaves, her hands tremble. She knows Campbell no longer trusts her. She knows her time is running out. And yet, when she returns to the garrison, when Tommy looks at her with that steady gaze, all her fear fades. For reasons she cannot explain, she chooses him, again and again, even if it means betraying everything she once believed in. Back in Small Heath, Ada falls deeper into despair. She refuses to eat, refuses to listen, refuses to forgive her brothers. Polly tries everything, but nothing works. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Tommy sits by Ada's side. He tells her softly, "We've lost too much already. I won't let them take you too." For once, his voice cracks, the armor slipping. Ada sees the brother beneath the soldier, and though she doesn't forgive him, her anger softens. Arthur, however, grows more reckless. His rage at Campbell consumes him. One night, drunk and furious, he storms into the streets with a revolver, shouting, ready to take on the coppers himself. He is dragged back before he can pull the trigger, but the damage is done. Everyone sees it, Arthur is unraveling. Tommy feels the world closing in. Kimber grows unstable. Campbell grows ruthless. His family grows divided. And Grace is the one thing he doesn't know how to control. Yet, even as chaos swirls around him, Tommy begins to plot. He sees every move, every weakness, every opportunity. Freddy's arrest may have hurt them, but it also gave him something he rarely has, clarity. He knows what must be done. The city holds its breath. Freddy languishes in a cold cell. Ada weeps for him. Campbell sharpens his knives. Grace fights her heart. Arthur spirals. And Tommy Shelby, calm as stone, prepares to strike back. Because to him, there is only one truth: no matter the cost, the Shelbys will rise. And anyone who stands in their way will fall. The streets of Birmingham buzz with whispers. Freddie Thorne rots in a prison cell, Ada's cries echo in Small Heath, and Campbell parades his small victories as if he already controls the city. But beneath it all, Tommy Shelby is moving in silence, calculating his revenge. He knows Kimber is crumbling. The man once feared now stumbles through the racetracks drunk, paranoid, lashing out at his own men. His enemies smell weakness, and so does Tommy. But instead of striking too soon, Tommy waits. He sharpens his plan, letting Kimber's empire collapse under its own weight. One night, as the family sits in the garrison, Polly raises her voice. The business grows, but so do the dangers. Freddie in prison. Ada ready to break. Arthur on the edge. And you, she points at Tommy, you play games with a coppa's woman. Her words cut sharp. The bar falls silent. Grace stiffens, pretending not to hear, but everyone knows the truth. Polly sees through the mask. Tommy doesn't answer. He never does when Polly challenges him. But the look in his eyes is enough. This isn't a game to him. Grace isn't a distraction. She is something more, something he can't put into words. Later, when the night quiets and the whiskey burns low, Tommy finds Grace. They walk through the fog-soaked streets, silent at first. Finally, Tommy speaks. Everyone has a secret, he says. The trick is knowing which ones matter. Grace looks at him, her heart heavy, knowing she is hiding the biggest secret of all. But she says nothing. Instead, she leans into him, letting the silence speak for them both. Meanwhile, Campbell grows restless. Grace's reports grow thin, her answers vague. He begins to suspect what he already fears, that she has fallen under Tommy's spell. His anger simmers. To him, Grace was supposed to be his weapon. Now she feels like his betrayal. In his office, he slams his fist against the desk and swears that Thomas Shelby will be destroyed. But Tommy has no time for Campbell's rage. His focus shifts to Kimber. Through whispers and bribes, Tommy learns that Kimber's own men are losing faith. The horses no longer run in his favor, the deals no longer bring profit, and the women he surrounds himself with no longer respect him. Kimber is bleeding power, and Tommy is ready to strike. At a tense meeting, Tommy faces Kimber directly. Kimber tries to puff his chest, spitting threats, but his voice trembles with drink. Tommy stays calm, cold as steel. "You've lost control, Billy," he says. "The racetrack isn't yours anymore. The city isn't yours. It's mine." Kimber laughs, a hollow sound, but behind his eyes, the fear is clear. He knows the truth, even if he refuses to say it. Thomas Shelby is taking everything. Back in Small Heath, Ada grows weaker. The stress of Freddie's arrest weighs heavy on her, and her pregnancy leaves her fragile. Polly stays at her side, fierce and protective, daring anyone to cross her niece. "If anything happens to her," Polly warns, "it will be on your head, Tommy." Arthur, meanwhile, sinks deeper into the bottle. His rage burns hot, but it has no direction. He feels useless, a shadow to Tommy's brilliance, and the shame eats at him. One night, after too much whiskey, he tries to hang himself. The rope creaks, the chair falls, but he is saved before it's too late. The family hides it, but the truth is clear: Arthur is broken. For Tommy, this is a turning point. He realizes the empire he's building stands on fragile ground. His family is cracking, his enemies closing in, and yet his ambition refuses to let him stop. He hardens himself, burying the pain, burying the fear, because he knows there is no turning back. Grace, caught between two worlds, watches it all. She sees the weight Tommy carries, the shadows in his eyes, the loneliness he hides. And against all reason, she falls deeper. She tells herself she came to Birmingham with a mission, but now she knows the truth: her heart belongs to the very man she was sent to destroy. The city prepares for a reckoning. Kimber staggers at the edge of ruin. Campbell sharpens his knives. The Shelbys fracture but stand tall. And Tommy Shelby, silent and unshaken, begins to move his pieces into place. The air grows heavy in Birmingham, charged with something unseen, something inevitable. Everyone can feel it, that moment before the strike, before the fall, before the fire consumes everything. And at the center of it all stands Tommy, calm as stone, waiting for the right moment to bring his enemies to their knees. The city trembles as storm clouds gather. The tension that has been building finally explodes. Kimber's empire, once untouchable, now hangs by a thread. And Tommy Shelby is ready to cut it clean. At dawn, the Peaky Blinders gather in a cold warehouse. The men stand silent, waiting for orders. Tommy walks in, sharp suit, cigarette burning between his lips, his eyes steady as steel. He doesn't need to raise his voice. Every man listens when Tommy speaks. "Today," he says, "we end Kimber. We take the tracks. We take the money. We take the power. And after tonight, no one in this city will ever doubt the name Shelby again." Arthur cracks his knuckles, eager for blood. John sharpens his blade, grinning like a wolf. Even in his broken state, Arthur feels alive again, because nothing steadies him like the promise of war. Meanwhile, Kimber is falling apart. He drowns himself in whiskey, his men whispering behind his back. The fear is visible now. The once proud king of the racetrack staggers through his kingdom like a wounded animal, surrounded by vultures. When night falls, the showdown begins. Kimber arrives at the racetrack with his men, guns heavy in their coats, eyes darting nervously in the dark. The Peaky Blinders are already waiting. The two groups face each other, the air thick with smoke, hatred, and the promise of violence. Kimber tries to sneer, to sound strong. "You think you can take what's mine, Shelby? You're just a boy playing gangster." His voice cracks on the last word. Tommy steps forward, calm, almost gentle. "You were the king, Billy. But kings fall. And tonight, you fall to me. The fight erupts in an instant. Guns roar. Blades flash. The racetrack explodes with chaos. Men scream, blood splatters, boots crash against the dirt. Arthur charges like a bull, his rage unleashed at last, while John moves swift and brutal, cutting down Kimber's men one by one. In the center of the storm, Tommy keeps his focus. He moves with precision, every shot measured, every step calculated. Finally, he comes face to face with Kimber. The old king is trembling, his gun shaking in his hand. He fires, misses. Tommy doesn't. One bullet, clean and final. Kimber falls. The silence after is deafening. Kimber's men scatter. The racetrack is soaked in blood, but the outcome is clear. The crown has passed. Thomas Shelby now rules. Word spreads fast. By morning, Birmingham knows the truth. Kimber is dead. The Peaky Blinders control the races. And Tommy Shelby is no longer just a gangster, he is a kingmaker. But victory comes at a cost. Ada hears the news while still mourning Freddy's absence, and she spits venom at her brothers. More blood, more death, when does it end? Polly watches Tommy with sharp eyes, seeing how deep he has sunk into the darkness. She knows this path has no return. Grace stands in the quiet of the garrison, her heart torn apart. She saw the fight. She saw the man Tommy truly is, ruthless, brilliant, merciless. And yet she cannot turn away. The closer she gets, the harder it becomes to betray him. But Campbell doesn't wait. The inspector summons her again. His face is twisted with rage, his pride wounded by Tommy's rise. "You've let him grow too strong," Campbell hisses. "You've let him seduce you. Tell me where the guns are, Grace. Tell me, or you are no better than the criminals you sleep with." Grace's silence is her answer. Campbell's face hardens, cold as stone. "Then you leave me no choice." He vows to crush Tommy, to crush the Peaky Blinders, and to drag Grace down with them if he must. Back in Small Heath, Arthur wears the blood of Kimber's men like a second skin. For a brief moment, he feels powerful again. But when the whiskey fades, the emptiness returns. Tommy sees it, but says nothing. He knows Arthur's demons are not so easily silenced. Tommy sits alone after the battle, cigarette glowing in the dark. He has won, yes. But he feels no joy. Each victory costs more than the last. Each step forward leaves blood in his wake. And yet, he cannot stop. The hunger drives him, the vision of something greater. In his mind, he hears Kimber's final words. "You're just a boy playing gangster." Maybe Kimber was wrong. Or maybe he was right, and Tommy is still just a boy trying to build an empire too heavy to carry. But as the smoke curls into the night, Tommy makes his choice. Whatever it takes, whoever he must break, the rise of the Shelbys will not be stopped. The streets of Birmingham belong to him now. The crown is his. But in the shadows, enemies sharpen their blades. Campbell plots revenge. Grace hides her betrayal. And the cost of victory is only beginning to show. Birmingham holds its breath. Kimber is gone, the racetracks belong to the Shelbys, and Thomas Shelby now walks the city like a man untouchable. But the higher he rises, the sharper the knives pointed at his back. Inspector Campbell seethes in silence. Kimber's fall was supposed to weaken Tommy, not crown him. And now the inspector finds himself humiliated, his mission unfinished, his pride shattered. He looks in the mirror and swears he will break Thomas Shelby, even if it means burning the city to ashes. Grace stands trapped between two worlds. Her reports to Campbell have grown colder, shorter, filled with half-truths. She has seen Tommy's ruthlessness, yes, but she has also seen his wounds. The soldier who returned from war carrying ghosts. The brother who protects his family at any cost. The man who, for the first time in her life, makes her question who she really is. One night, Tommy meets Grace by the canal. The moon reflects in the black water, their faces lit by the dim glow of gas lamps. Tommy smokes, quiet, thinking. Finally, he says, "Every man has choices. Some men choose the law, some men choose the streets. I chose this. But you, Grace," he pauses, eyes piercing hers. "What side are you on?" Grace's lips part, but the words don't come. Instead, she reaches for him, and in that silence, Tommy finds his answer. Meanwhile, Ada gives birth to a baby boy. In the middle of the chaos, new life arrives. Polly stands by her side, fierce and proud, declaring, "This child will never want for family." The moment softens even Tommy's cold heart. For one fleeting second, he allows himself to believe in something beyond power, something worth protecting. But Campbell does not forgive, and he does not forget. He uses the police to strike harder, raiding the betting shops, dragging young blinders into cells, harassing the family at every corner. The message is clear: the inspector is not finished. Polly warns Tommy. This man is different. He doesn't want money. He doesn't want power. He wants you destroyed. Tommy nods, knowing she's right. Campbell cannot be bought. And that makes him the most dangerous enemy of all. As the season builds to its breaking point, Tommy prepares for one last gamble. The stolen guns, the very weapons that gave Campbell his excuse to come to Birmingham, are still hidden. To some, they are a curse. But to Tommy, they are leverage. With them, he can force the inspector to his knees. Or he can sell them and make the Peaky Blinders untouchable. But timing is everything. On the day of Freddie Thorne's release, Ada storms into the garrison with her baby in her arms. She screams at the men around her. "All this blood, all this fighting, it's for nothing. Look at him." She holds up the child, her voice breaking. "Look at what matters. Family. Not power. Not money. Family." The room falls silent. Even the hardest blinders lower their eyes. But Tommy only stares, cigarette burning slow, the weight of every choice etched into his face. That night, Grace makes her decision. She meets with Campbell in the shadows of a church. He demands answers, snarling, "Where are the guns? Where is Shelby's weakness?" But Grace no longer trembles under his authority. Her voice is steady, cold. "I choose him." Campbell's eyes widen. For a moment, the mask slips, and the rage beneath is terrifying. He leans close, whispering, "If you walk away from me, Grace, then I will destroy him. I will destroy everything he loves. And when he burns, you will burn with him." Grace leaves without a word. But Campbell is already planning his revenge. The finale builds to a private meeting. Tommy, calm as ever, sits across from powerful men, businessmen and politicians, men who once backed Kimber. Now they watch Tommy with respect, even fear. He lays out his plan with quiet confidence. The racetracks will thrive under Shelby control. Profits will flow. Order will be kept. And anyone who doubts will end up like Billy Kimber. The men nod. The deal is struck. The Shelbys have risen. But outside the meeting, shadows gather. Campbell waits, his hand on the grip of his revolver, his eyes burning with hate. He follows Grace, cornering her in the quiet streets. "You made your choice," he hisses. "Now live with it." He raises the gun, ready to kill her where she stands. But fate interrupts. A shot rings out, not from Campbell's gun, but from somewhere unseen. Grace spins. Campbell stumbles. Blood spreads across his coat. He collapses to the cobblestones, gasping, his mission unfinished. Grace runs, her heart pounding. She doesn't know if Campbell is dead, but she knows this fight is far from over. The season closes with Tommy at the betting shop, smoke swirling in the dim light. Grace enters, her eyes filled with both love and fear. Tommy looks at her, trying to read the truth in her silence. Finally, he asks the question that has haunted him from the start. "Are you mine, Grace? Or are you theirs?" She hesitates. Just a heartbeat. But in that heartbeat, everything hangs in the balance. Tommy studies her face, torn between trust and suspicion, between love and survival. The screen fades to black. The answer remains unspoken. And so, Season 1 ends where it began, in the smoke-filled streets of Birmingham, where loyalty is tested, love is dangerous, and power always comes at a price. This is only the beginning. Because for the Peaky Blinders, every victory writes the next war.